Hello, welcome back to Scale Modeling Twins. This is part two of the HMS Victory 198 scale by Corel wooden kit and all that sort of stuff. So if you've seen, you may not have, the previous episode, what I managed to complete is throwing the carcass together as shown here. So we've got frames 1 all the way up to 14, 12, 13, 14 there. So we are missing a couple from the galleries at the back there. And we had thrown the lower and the upper deck in place just to help sort of get it all straight and everything else. Now, these were just sitting there, so I can take these off now. This has been sitting there for a couple of days. So, Duke's in, saying g'day, John. How are you? Welcome, dude. This will be, well, this is totally unscripted, of course, just a live show. So what I'm doing here is trying to carefully remove this deck so I don't sort of splinter it off and everything else. The deal is, I want to look at the next step. Now that it's together, I can start to think three-dimensionally about what the next step is. So now that they're removed, there was a big bow in that, but again, it's now that's off the frame, it's completely flat, so that's all good. Good quality wood. So that'll stay down there. And the lower deck, I'll move off. And these will be eventually planked. And when I get to that, there's a couple of different sort of methods and different sort of sizes they used on those ships. So there's either a 3, 4, 5, or 6 shift pattern. But I'll talk about those and sort of guidance and everything else later on. Again, that's flat, so that's good. Move that aside. So we're left with just the frame itself with the armatures. Now what I want to do is, I'm going to zoom in on this a bit. So this is showing what we've done up till now. So I'm going to read out a bit. This is the booklet that comes with the kit. Now it's a small A3 booklet. And yeah, Italian, French, blah, 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 blah. But the English bit, first bit is forward. The next bit is talking about a framework. But what I'll do, I'll just read this out and point to things and where we are. Oh, and Jim's just joined us from Chicago. Hello, Jim. How are you? This is just an impromptu thing. I just finished the Models for Heroes live stream and just thought, you know what, I've got time and it's early. I might as well do this. So where we are now, I'll read this out. So framework, at the bottom of this picture here, what I did last stream is basically assemble it without talking through the guidance here. What this is saying is prepare a chipboard A, the size of 15 by 60 mil and about 1.5 centimeters thick. Fix. Oh, now you got to remember this is an Italian brand, so what they had done is translate to English. So it's not perfect translation, but it's good enough. You certainly understand it. But I'll just read exactly as it's written here. Yeah, get a bit of chipboard and fix thereon 2 lengths of board B cross section about 10 by 10 centimeters, leaving a space corresponding to the thickness of the keel, number 15, plate 3, figure B. So this is plate 3, figure B. Right. So we've got A and B here on the base of the actual thing. Now I haven't bothered with that. All right, NB is said the said pieces A and B are not supplied with the kit. Well, that's fine. that's why I haven't done it. Then it goes insert between the parts numbers 15 and 17, the frame number 14, 15 and 17. Now I'm trying to think. Okay, so the false keel itself is part 15. That's the main length of the ship, and 16 is the bow section, and 17 is the gallery section. So there we go. So fit between 15 and 17, the frame number 14, which is the final bit of the frame here. Plate 3, figure 8. And then join the 3 sections of the keel, number 15, 15, 16, 17. So I have done that. Check the fit of the joints and before gluing that of the parts for forming the framework of the hull from number 1 to number 26 to the keel, comprising also the decks. Controlling also the alignment, glue to the keel the frames from number 1 to 14 only, and the long ways beams number 26. So this is the frames as you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, up to 14. And then the long ways ones 26 are the ones above here. So we had done that in the last episode here. Sorry about the camera's a bit too close there, but you get the idea. So they're all together. We've got these two, what do they call them? The parts for forming the deck to the hull, and number 26 of the keel, comprising also the decks, controlling also the alignment, glued to the keel, and the long ways beams number 26. After removing the decks number 18 and 19. So these are the ones that I'd put on last week. In fact, this is part 27, the lower deck. 18 is the main deck, and 19 is the quarter deck. I didn't fit 19 the other day. Yeah, and glue to the structure of the lower section number 20 and line it with the boards number 27. I'm looking at this 20. Okay, so going back again. So 27 is pointing to this lower deck. Glue to the keel, the frames on removing decks 18 and 19. Glue to the structure of the lower deck 20. Okay, I can't see a 20, but obviously the lower deck is 20. And line it with boards number 27. Okay, so it wants me to plank the lower deck now, because once you put on the upper deck, you're not going to be able to get to it and plank it. I'm not going to plank it yet. What I'm going to do is get the shape of the hull right, and then put on the deck, plank it and all that sort of stuff before we start to put on the actual hull planks. So I'll just have a look at the comments here. Hobby Time's in saying hi, guys. And hi, Jim. Duke is saying, g'day, Jim and Hobby Time. Hobby Times, hi, Duke. Jim is saying, hello, Duke and Hobby Time. I see the usual suspects are assembling for the Australian-based live stream. Question, what kind of paint do you use on wooden models? So the ones I've used on the HM Briggs Supply, which is the first fleet vessel, the last wooden ship I did, I use Admiralty paints. So this is them here. They are by Joe Tika Industries, the same mob that made the Caldercraft wooden ships. So they have Admiralty paints, matte black, matte white. This is a dull black for the guns and everything else. Red ochre and yellow ochre. And these, reading the website, they're taken from naval samples at Portsmouth and all that sort of stuff like that. And they're acrylic, and they go down really well with a brush. Beautiful colors. I will do something like these. Like, I don't want to have mine looking like or wood. I want to have it looking as the Victory does. Everybody knows the black, copper, and the Nelson checker and all that sort of stuff like that. But I could use any paint at all. If I see a particular sort of color in, say, Vallejo, I'll use that. I'm not too proud. Let's find out as we go on. It'll be a while. Duke is saying, I bought the D'Agostino HMS Victory, which came with the magazine and came in bits every week for a long time. Probably paid 3 times more than this kit. You're probably right. I have that, half of it. I think a friend of mine was doing the same thing. Chris Priestley, a beast, as he call it. He's a warrant officer, ex Mirage Hornet guy. And Yeah, he's given it to me. It's in my shed. He's never going to build it. He stopped getting the set and everything else. But he said if you want any of the wood from it or whatever, but it's in the shed. And what I'll do probably in the next stream is have that alongside this and compare the scale difference and the build quality of planks and stuff. We'll sort of go through all of it. All right, so back to this. So as I say, I'm not going to plank the lower deck yet. Alrighty, so I need to sort of understand this before I move on. Line it with boards. Glue on the frames numbers 4 to number 11. The deck beams number 28. So 4 to 11. Okay, so yep. So yeah, the main you glue the plank onto these parts of the frames. And the deck beams number 28, shaping the top line as required as shown. So once you fit the decks here with sandpaper, you would go along and you'd match it to the outside, what they call the tumble home, the outer profile of the hull itself there. All right, glue to the structure of the decks number 18 and 19. So they're the upper ones. As I say, I'm not going to do these just yet in this order. Planking with boards number 27. Now, all the parts lists are here. So 18, 19 would just be frames. So 18, 19, upper deck, poop deck, lower deck. And frame plank with number 27, which is decker planking, Tanganyika board, 0.6 mil by 4 mil. It gives you a list number, and R is saying it's supplied with the kit. Yeah, these can be hard to follow because, as I said, English is not the first language. Jim is saying, question, do you brush or spray the paint on the hull and other large areas? The last one I did was completely brushed. What I chose not to do is, you know what, I'll grab it. I'll just show you. I'll show you. Give me a sec. I'll take the headset off. Okay, I'll change the camera for this. So this is the HM Brig supply. As I mentioned, First Fleet vessel, the first one of the First Fleet into the port of Botany Bay and then into Sydney Harbour, with Captain Arthur Phillip on board. You probably recognise, or Duke, I've got Stephen Matcher and Jack Aubrey, the figures that you've painted up for me on the deck there. They're I think the right scale for this. So the paints on this one, you could see the black, the matte black, the yellow, the red ochre and yellow ochre around here. All this was just hand brushed. As I mentioned, it's just with a brush. I think that's just 2 coats there, and you can see in the reflection, it's really nice paint. It just goes down really well with no sort of brush marks or anything at all. So this one is brush painted. Most of it is not painted. Obviously the white at the bottom, that's all the Admiralty paints as well, and it does show the you can see the individual planking coming through in the light there and everything else, but it just these paints, I think the color choices, I just copied the box art for this one. I don't know if it's actually correct. I don't think anybody does, but to my eye, I think that looks pretty bloody good. It may be incorrect. It may not be historically accurate, but it's the best we can do because no one bothered to really take note of these. I mean, the First Fleet, it was important to us, but it's certainly not important to the British people at the time. They were just like, oh, we'll put them off to another country and we'll forget about them and all that sort of stuff. So they didn't know that, what, 50 years later, we'd find gold more than the British Commonwealth ever found anywhere else. And then they stripped the hell out of it. We sort of dug it up, sent it back to them, and then they forgot about us again. Oh! You're right. Jim is saying, by the way, I can sing anytime I want to. I'm in command. So one of the things I'm trying to do, like when I joined the Air Force, I'd say command and like, wing commander and all that sort of stuff. Moved to South Australia and they all down there, they say, command, commander. And there's a couple other words that they use, like branches instead of branches and stuff. So I try to sound a little bit more highbrow by saying commander and all that sort of stuff like that. So occasionally you'll hear me sound like an absolute bogan, and then I'll slip into trying to sound a little bit poncy. And I think you understand that I'm not actually that poncy or foppish. Okay. So let me try to understand where we are. Okay, we're doing the planking, blah blah blah. We're not doing them per se. Okay, and it says glued to the structure of the decks 18-19, planking with boards 27, the stern area of the sector 18 to be impractical thereafter. So what they're really meaning is if I don't do it then, I'm not going to be able to get in this lower, where the helm is, the ship's wheel is sort of underneath this sort of awning and everything else. I'm saying if you don't plank it now, you're not going to be able to plank it later on. Oh no. Duke is saying, I grew up in South Australia and have the same issue with certain words. Okay, that's all right. Hello, Duke. Yeah, we tried to sound educated by trying to sound like South Australians. And I say Australians don't really have an accent. There's just one of the few things. Like, my sister, when she was a politician, she'd say, oh, we have a branch party. And we just look at her and say, oh, you mean a branch party? And she just, no, it's branch. I'm just thinking, oh, no, it's sort of not, but yeah, it is. Alrighty, glue to the structure those, as well as filling in panels number 21 between frames 11 and 12. Always plate 3. Always plate 3, figure C. So this is plate 3, figure C, 11. Also, okay, so putting on 18, 19, planking them. Stern area, as well as filling panels number 21 between the frames 11 and 12. Filling panels 21 between 11 and 12. Okay. So, I see. So this is these two here boxing in the sides of these parts later on. So this will have the quarter deck above that area there. So we have other boards. So this whole back area here will be, it's going to be hard to see, but what will be eventually that part in there. So these have windows and doors all the way around that area there, and that is a fiber board. But what they're saying is, I'll need to box those frames in before. Well, actually, it'll be after I've got these the planks in place, the deck in place. I don't think there's any point because these are going to be 5mm thick or thereabouts. If I put them on now, I'm not going to be able to get the deck in place. So I'll have to do that a little bit later. Let's try. Sorry, I'll move the camera out again. Yeah, sorry, I just have to keep on moving this around. So that will go there all the way down. So I would have vertical parts in there. You know what? I reckon I might be able to get them in, stick them out a little bit, and then what will happen later on is, let me grab something else from the other side of the room. Okay, so it's a bit off camera here. I'm going down to the box of goodies. These are bags I haven't opened, but this is the time to do it. So the things I didn't fit the other day are all these other bits there. Now, mentioned wood fibre and doorways and windows. So they are here. I don't really want to open this one yet. But in here would have, you know what, let's just open it because I've got to get to it at some point. So these bits are made with just, it's like sawdust, really, sort of smooshed in with PVA glue to make these things. And it's actually just pasted on, if that makes sense. You can see the top corner there. It's literally just, this is a kit from the early 80s. So this is the way they did it back then. It's before 3D printing and everything else. Okay. So we got, let's go down again. So that's the figurehead, the cherubs, and this is the coat of arms. These go under the head. This is part of the decoration on the side, and these are the gallery, the stern lighting windows. That'll be on the aft transom. More lines, more gratings. This is, yeah, okay, so these are the bits I was talking about. These parts here are, that's the beak head up the front of the ship, just around about where the round houses are. And these little bits on the side there, they go down the doorways and stuff like that. As you can see, it's going to be a little bit, this kit is what it is. So they look nice enough. It's going to be a bit of a faff to try to get them to work. Other bits, these go under the galleries. And these are the hawse holes, the gallery formers. There's a couple of the bits in there. These are the cheeks that go around under the head to form the beak head, if you like, the front of the ship. So later on, the galleries themselves are thicker, but they're the same sort of thing. And as you can see there, they're not particularly detailed. Yeah, I don't, you know, I'll do the best I can with them, but it's going to look a fairly bit ordinary if I don't sort of spend more money and get other bits and pieces. Okay, what I need to do to understand what's happening with that section of the boat is go to the plans and see what it wants me to do. So sheet 4, this is, as you can see, making up using all the bits and pieces and everything else. These are bits of wood that you sort of carve out yourself. These are the bits of the wood fibre. This is what I mean by the cheeks and all the wood fibre there. So that's all the gallery, the stern bit. So that's 4, 5. This could be anywhere. 6. Oh, okay. All right, so this is it. So those parts there, yeah, part 21. This is the binnacle, the compass, and this is the helm, the wheel, ship's wheel sticks on this post here. And I've got 154, which is a doorway I pointed to before in the wood fibre, but there's no detail or anything that goes around the side here. So they'll be, I'll have to just make them up myself. The other thing with this is I have no problem using, say, plastic bits of evergreen or anything at all, because as far as I'm concerned, having all this stuff, it's not particularly purist. None of this is, you know, just, oh, it's got to be wood or it's not an actual wooden ship. I think they're using whatever materials they can at the time that the kit was created. I don't think, if I use bits of plastic and then paint them to look like wood or whatever. I don't think anyone could really have a go at me. And if they do, then it's my ship. So all this stuff you can see, I need to sort of carve these out myself and make them up. So for instance, the belfry here, where the ship's bell goes. So that top bit there starts off as a plank of wood, and then I have to form it that way, stick all these together, make that shape, and then sand it. So there's going to be a bit of work involved. So these parts there, now that I know that there's no detail in there, I'd be able to just stick them on and just make sure I can sort of access it later on. So 6, 4, 5. Yep. There's a number of, maybe jumping around a bit. Okay, so going back to the comments. Jim is saying there's so many regional accents in the US. I have that Chicago accent, as I've been told by others that live in different parts of Illinois and the Midwest. Duke replies, you sound like Tom Hanks in the movie where he's a ship's captain when they were attacked by Somali pirates, Jim? Oh, no. Mikey's in. Hey, the master's back. G'day, Mikey. Duke is saying, not sure, Duke. I've seen the film, but I can't remember anything descriptive about Hank's accent. Probably wasn't an accent to you, Jim. And Mikey says, hey, Duke. Hello, Mikey. How are you, mate? You can, if any of you want to jump in, let me know. I just read out I have no problems, reading out this stream now. If you got a pen, just write this down. It's streamyard.com/. Let me know when you want me to read out the rest. Oh, cripes. Even this guy's in. Better looking Marley saying, hello, Captain John. Sounds a bit sus, like and disappointed. I know it's not plastic. What can I say? All right. Now, so all these bags and whatnot, we're talking about this part at the back of the deck, part 21. So they're preformed. They're here and labeled in the bag. I've got, there's 2 of those. And looking at the diagram, they've got the cutout there, forward and up. So that would go in there. Where? Okay. What the hell? Okay, so there is a bit of a chamfer to it. If that part goes forward, the notch is forward and up, then the rest of it then, if that's vertical, the base of it would follow the line of the deck as it swoops up towards the stern. So if that goes on there, okay, that is going to, that would have to go on after the deck is in place. I can't fit that in between those frames. I can make it fit and sort of go behind there, but it's designed to be that shape, that size. So I'll put that on later on after the deck has been planked and secured and everything else. So that part's 21, they're going to wait. Oh, Mikey is saying, I'm good, bud. Duke, instead of reading it out, just click on the invite guest button and then copy the link into the chat. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. All right, so if anybody wants to join, and any of you can, that's the stream there. Jim is saying, Duke, are you aware or have seen the comedy routine Superfans from Saturday Night Live? That was created and written by 2 guys that are from the south side of Chicago, the Bears. I can't say I'm familiar with it. We don't get Saturday Night Live here, of course. We know of it, and that's about it. Because there's a, hey, I can mention Trump. Yeah, how he says like he's not funny, Saturday Night Live. Yeah, they that's where comedy goes to die and all that sort of stuff. Well, what can I say? They're the most humorless bunch of people that I've ever heard in America at the moment. But whatever. So yeah, so 21 will go on later on. So now that that's sort of understood, I'll go back to the book. Okay, 21 between frames and 11 and 12. Gradually shape the bow pillars number 29 and the stern pillars number 30. So 29 and 30 are the bow pillars here. Now the way they come is sort of shaped, but again, it's a bag that I haven't opened yet. I can't believe I'm doing this. I've had this kit for about 15 years, so it's about time I open these bags, isn't it? I showed remarkable restraint. Right. So these ones would be the bow pillars. As you can see, they're fairly chunky and really nice wood, like absolutely solid grain. Like that's going to, oh, that smells good too. But it's going to take a long time to sand down to make a bow. And these are the stern fittings. So let's have a look at that. That's how the ship's boat is. Well, two of them. There you go. So I'll have to use a fret saw and cut them out. Yeah, as I say, this model is of its time. What else we got? Oh no, the ships themselves are. Oh, they're actual wood. Then somebody sat there with a machine and just drill it. So these would be the thwarts and everything else. So the keel piece is the main part there, and they'd go the forward bit, the aft bit, and these are the side bits, and the thwarts would be, I guess, made by me cutting out planks later on. Hooray! Right, so let's have a look at these. Sorry, Jim, I know of Saturday Night Live, but as John said, we don't get it here. Right, so if that deck stays off for now, this is the bow section. Okay, so the outside profile is close enough to matching that, but what I've got to do is make it look like that and get it to, come around. And I'll have no choice but to just use other bits and bobs to try to understand what that should be, that angle there. So I could draw it, but then I have no way of really doing it quickly or neatly. I'd need to, I bought a couple of chisels to sort of like literally chisel that away, but that'll take a while. And the stern piece, it does fit there, nice. But what I've got to do is, this is another annoying part where in sheet E, before I fit those parts, 30, which are these ones, I'd need to cut them in half, but not half, like half from the top, but then down to the full thickness at the base, and then stick that behind that part 14. So where that will go is, I've got to get that to fit there, but to get it nice and round so the planks will actually touch onto the keel here. And you see that's going to be a big ask. That'll take a fair bit of time. I don't need to, looking at this, I don't need to mark the outside profile because it does match that one there. It'll be the upper part will fit to the upper part of 14 there. Looking at this one here. And the base of it there is stepped up a bit because it'll be chamfered up eventually into this shape. Hey. So yeah, that's the next part. This is going to take. This is the only part of the build I'm not really looking forward to. Is actually shaping these. It'll be okay. It's a matter of starting, really. but I've got to do it just by feel. There's no real guide as to how that should be shaped, and I don't have the machinery or sort of milling machines or whatever to be able to do this properly. I just need to do it by hand. So I'll just read on. Colouring. Okay, gradually shape the bow pillars, 2930. After having obtained a satisfactory shape, glue them to the hull and finish them, in brackets, all the phases of this operation, in particular that of the stern block, are clearly shown in plate 3, figure number CEF. So, the yeah, E and F. They're not really clearly shown, are they? It's just like, yeah, this sort of goes there, but, how to do it is mystery. Okay, take some boards and check the alignment of the hull. So the ones that go all the way down, the shape of the hull. If the boards don't slide perfectly over the frames, adjust the latter with a file and glass paper. Glass paper, of course, I mean sandpaper. If a frame results to be lacking in size, glue a piece of board to the too narrow edge and obtain a suitable size. After glue has dried, taper off the frames, number 1 to 7, towards the bow, and the remaining frames towards the stern, while still further finishing the blocks number 29 and 30. The end ones. In particular, it's very important to correct the frames 14, which emphasize the final curve of the shaft. Now 14 is the last stern plate, if you like. So that'll have a really big sort of chamfer on it, on the edges. Okay, and then join to the structure the 3 stern mounts, 20, 22, 23, 24, plate 3, figure G. Now what they are is that, and that. And looking which order they go. Okay, so 22, the larger one, would go underneath to form the gallery there. 23 above that. And 24. So that then will give the profile of the galleries. Right, so later on then you come across with these bits, and they'll be sort of smudged, like, you can warm these up, you can bend them slowly, you can wet them and all sorts of stuff, and they'll be there, but they look, again, a bit rough anyway, but that's the best you've got. And the gallery fascia will go along the back there. So you've got those. So I won't glue these ones on just yet because I need to be able to get in there with sandpaper and everything else. So I don't want to damage these ones. I'll fix them later on, but they'll be chamfered as well. So they'll be in line with each other. So not gluing those 3 pieces on there. If it's desired to make the model with all the mantlets open and the guns visible, prepare and glue between the frames lengths of boards number 31. Now what they are is, a lot of these guns are the only ones that are full guns are the ones that you can see on the top deck. So they'll have these gun trucks, but all the other ones have just false cannon, and they're just a little bit of a cannon with a spigot at the back that you drill into a bit of board and you stick it onto that. So you have a board that sits horizontally along most of the ship, and then have them sticking out the gun holes, mantlets, as they say. Now those bits there are shown here, 31. So all the way down where the frames would be, where the guns would be, I'd stick 31. Whose whose approximative size can be obtained from plate 2, figure C, but also plate 3, figure H, plate 5, figure CD. Thereafter, remove some small portions of the frames whose profile coincide exactly with the gun ports. Now, I'd mentioned that in the last stream. There's a number here, frames 2. There's 2 gun ports that are going to be intersected by the frame. Frame 4 has one that's going to be there. 4, 5, 6, and 7 have different guns in different positions there. So I've marked where they are already, but it says for those ones, oh, and 13, which is the, that aft one there where the gallery is. In this case, a frame itself acts as the support for the half barrels. Okay, so that's what it says about how I'm to do this bit of the thing. And it's going to take a while. So all I could do now that I can think in 3Ds because I've got the frame together, and I haven't touched this with any sandpaper or anything at all yet. As I mentioned, the difficulty for me now is to get these to match. The only way to do it really is to do it. So it would need to, as a guide, as I mentioned, the stern, cut off the rear part of it, and I think a mate of mine's got a couple of woodworking equipment and all that sort of stuff to be able to get that to go to that shape, and you can see how much of the frame 14 would have to be removed as well to make this all sort of come and tumble home, if you like. Oh, sorry. No, I wasn't keeping up with the chat. Oh, wow. Okay, so Jim's saying current Saturday Night Live, not so good. Superfan sketches go back to the 90s. Evening, John, Duke. Duke is saying, I won't join in, John. My grandkids tried to kill me with man flu. Oh, I'm very nasally and probably cough. I wouldn't mind doing some more of my victory at the same time as you soon, though. Oh, absolutely, join in. Jim saying, hi, Julian. The gang's all here. Julian says, hiya, Jim, BVC. G'day, Julian. Welcome aboard. Oh, Mario's shifts model bow is in. Greetings from Hamburg. I did see a message the other day on the other one, Mario. You're very welcome. Julian says, helpful hint, the sales point up. Oh, do they? They point forward, don't they? Greetings, Mario. Hi, Mario. G'day, Mario. Hey, almighty king of the heathens. Bob is saying, second helpful hint, take a bow to the front. Very good. Right. What ho? Second level aristocrat. A duke is 1 level below a prince, yes? Sounds right. Drat, forgotten monarch. 3rd level aristo, possibly. All right. So, yeah, as I say, this is going to take a while. I'm not going to glue these on yet. What I need to do is just mark out. So if half of this, if it's clearly shown there, or what I could do is just grab a pencil and mark where I need to slice these to start. So it is going full width from the bottom, but removing half from the front. Now, if I remove half from the front, that will be, I can get something flexible. I have a sponge. That'll be close enough. Right. Joink. And same with the other one on the other side, but it'll be reversed, of course. So from that point backwards to the center of that. I'll go and see my mate. I'll give him a call tomorrow to see if, he wouldn't mind me coming over and, oh, sorry, I'll move the camera to where. And he might be able to help me with forming these to start with. But yeah, from rear section there, this is a rough guide, so that'll be chopped away before I start those. The bow sections will be, there's no real guide for those. It's basically that it just get rounded off. So that will be in line with the top of the frame there. But yeah, this will come all the way back to where that frame is. So I'll mark that. I'll just do it freehand, this one. From that point there out to here, and just do that. And the other frame, where'd that go? There we are. Will be the reverse of that. So starting at that point and going to that point. So this is port and starboard. This will be the same with this. This is, make sure I get it the right way around. Port. Starboard. Right. So that's the next embuggerance, is getting them started. And yeah, they're going to take forever to do with sandpaper. But as I mentioned, there's really nice quality wood, very tight, close grain, and as a result, it's going to take forever to sort of chop away. So what I intend to do is get the contour of the hull correct before I then put the planks down, start planking them. Once the lower deck is on and planked, I could fix the upper deck, plank it, and then going on to the poop deck, and doing the same sort of thing. And when I start doing the actual hull planking, I'll be starting in line with the deck and then going down from there. But that'll be a different thing. Oh, Bob was saying, third helpful hint, make a template of all the parts that are going to be hacked out. Ask me how I know. Julian, Bob is also saying, Julian, so that makes Duke a first level aristo. We're in esteemed company. So there we are. This is what, 50 minutes in? I think that's really the plan for going forward from here, is getting those formers in place and rounding them out and all that sort of stuff like that. Now I won't be able to do anything once they're in place, and I could contour the rest of the hull with those. That'd be straightforward. It's just a matter of literally just sanding block and doing a lot of that, making lots of noise, and with a knife and everything else, and try to get that the contour of the hull correct. And that's going to be half the work. Once that's done, the planking itself will be straightforward. So I could see where these gallery pieces go, these formers, but they're not glued, so I'll remove them now. I'm not going to glue them until the rear is in place. So, oh, that's tight. So there we have it. So that's a bit of a discussion about the plan forward from here. Right. Now, the other thing, it mentions, yeah. Oh, look, I'll read this out. So just before the assembly instructions, the rest of the thing, if you don't mind me, I'll just give a bit of a read. So, historical notes. Victory, the name of Nelson's flagship on which he was killed at Trafalgar. The Battle of Trafalgar was one of the most famous battles of modern history, bitterly fought on the 21st of October 1805, a few miles southeast of Cadiz, between the English and the French-Spanish fleets. This is one of the few ships of those times which has reached us in perfect preserved state. Begun in 1759 and launched in 1765. She was subjected to several rebuildings before arriving at Trafalgar. Having returned rather badly mauled to the same dock at Chatham where she had been constructed, the Victory took again to the sea to establish on the 14th of January 1922 a stable abode at the dock number 2 at Portsmouth, where she is still visible. Obviously, such a famous relic, symbol of such a glorious history, could not be allowed to disappear into nothing, as the English people were happy to support a public subscription, with the sum so collected being used for reconstructing the Victory as she was at the time of Trafalgar. Right. Introduction. It's no surprise that a similar ship is still today reproduced in miniature by almost all makers of old ship models. We ourselves, with the model SM23 at the scale of 198, will produce for our second time HMS Victory, Nelson's flagship. It is clear that our second reproduction could not be but better than the first model SM7. In fact, it must be noted that in addition to the complete and excellent plans and drawings, the new model is based upon the most careful arrangement of the superstructures, allowing thus the maximum realism in all the details. A novelty that will be of interest to the modeler is the introduction of an original type of browned metal port lid equipped with post and movable hinge mantlet that can be held onto both closed and opened position. The experience obtained in many years of our activity in this field has allowed us to achieve the most accurate finishing of all the components according to our usual fully cut system, well now known and highly appreciated by many fans of this fascinating hobby. Well, we've just discovered it's not fully cut, but it is. It's better than starting off with a block of wood. Generalities. As is known, the Corel assembly kits contain all the necessary for constructing a given model, adhesives excluded, according to the fully cut system. In other words, each component of the model is ready for its assembly. An exception to this rule are a few parts a modeler makes himself from pieces of board or other materials, following the drawings and instructions accompanying the kits. Before starting the assembly, and not during the same, we suggest the modeler, and in particular the less skilled one, to carefully read this booklet and study the construction drawings. In this manner, he will approach the assembly of the model with more confidence and speed, without obstacles and without ... breaking anything. Sure, there is always a possibility of breaking or damaging pieces contained in the kit, especially when relative instructions and drawings have neither been read nor studied. Oh, cripes, need to get a drink. Yeah. And it's not easy to find the broken or damaged pieces in the market. Thanks to the programmed assortment of wood, various tonalities and grains, it's possible to finish this model in natural wood, finished to one's liking with matte or semi-matte transparent varnishes, or else with suitable oils or waxes for wood. Remember that also the dyeing mordant stuff is to be applied before the finishing or polishing. For those interested in constructing a model historically more accurate by means of painting and aging of some parts, we propose the following general suggestions. So the last bit I'll read is the colouring. Preferably to be made before the gluing in or the relative pieces, excepting naturally some parts of the hull or the like. All the colours are to be matte, plate 5, figure 1, oxidised copper, bottom and rudder under the waterline. We do not advise you to use copper plates to scale, a really difficult operation even for a highly skilled modeler. I've not done that. What I did find at Frontline Hobbies the other day was a roll from Artesania Latina of copper tape, and I think it's about probably 5 mil high, and I think it's 200 meters of it or whatever, maybe 20 meters. So you can, yeah, but it has no sort of texture to it. It's literally just a copper strip. And they've got, Artesania Latina have released 2 new versions of the Victory. One is an anatomy of the Victory, so one side is open up, and the other side is fully planked, and they're over, I think, $1,100 each or so. It's about the price of this kit. Black, 4 stripes to the hull over the waterline and keel over the waterline. Outside of the mantlets, hawse holes and relative band, triangular supports and boards of beakhead platforms, a marine's walk and its pillars, plank shear, timber heads, hammock netting and cranes, stern and quarter galleries, rudder over the waterline, guns and carronade barrels, anchors and stocks, boat davits, channels, deadeyes, straps, tops, bibs, caps, trees, parts of the mast between the tops and caps between the trees of the relative caps, front sector of the bowsprit, bumpkins, yard gaffs, driver boom, standing rigging, deadeyes, blocks, standing rigging, all ochre. 3 stripes to the hull over the waterline alternating with the black stripes. Edges of the outside of the headrail supports, beams, knees, the cat heads, part of relief of the bulwark, bulkhead and the round houses. Details in relief, the framework windows, fillets of scrolls on stern and quarter galleries, stern lanthorns, guns and carronades, carriages, masts, stunsail booms, top pillars, ensign staffs. Blue. Central part of the cat heads and outside faces of the headrails and supports, the beakhead, the bulkhead, the turrets, lower left quarter of the coat of arms, bottom of the figurehead in red. Internal parts of the mantlets, jambs of the gun ports, remaining part of the figurehead coat of arms, details of the flags of the stern coat of arms, white. Figurehead figure, feathers and flags of the stern coat of arms, gold. Crown, various figures on the coat of arms, lower letters, curls on the figurehead. We advise those modelers intending to paint their models to obtain some colour photos of the real ship, easily found in books and magazines of naval history, to gain better idea of the exact colours. You can tell by the print that this is before internet. And the last little bit, aging. The aging of the woods and other enamelled or oiled painted components is obtained by treating the surface with sepia or neutral grey distemper, thinned with ox gall, easily found at dealers and articles of fine arts, or milk. Remove the excess colour with a damp cloth. To obtain the characteristic aging of the gold decorations, proceed as follows. 1. Thin a container, a bit of wood dyeing mordant stuff with some drops of vinyl glue until the solution is sufficiently fluid. 2. Apply the solution with a brush to the surface of the decorations using an abundant quantity. 3. Before the paint dries, pass a damp cloth over the decorations, removing the paint from the projecting parts. After complete drying, the projecting parts will emerge from the darker shade remained in the deeper parts. If the gold color results to be not uniform or blackened, touch it up with gold enamel or the same shade, preferable for metals. So there you go. It's yeah, not a perfect translation, but it's certainly understandable. But there we go. So that's pretty much all we need to know. Then it goes on to the forward of the actual how it all fits and whatnot, and then going into the framework is only that much. There, the planking is just on a page, and you got deck, ports, superstructures is all that. Masting is, well, almost 3 pages. Front timber heads plank shear, side timbers head plank shear, and all the parts are going, because then you're getting into the real lots. You can see the list of that's once a hull is complete. That's when the real building starts, because all those hundreds of parts go in there. And then final superstructure. Yeah. And the final bit in English is pages of the part list. What it doesn't, it's got the item number, carronade, made of brown brass, part number C6 in A. What it doesn't do is tell you how many of each part there is, which is a bit annoying. Say, for instance, the bits that make the supports for the guns, 31 for the guns there. It says 31 half gun holder, Tanganyika board, 5mm by 15mm, and P is in supplied with the kit, but it doesn't tell you how many there are. I think there's 6 of them, but you have no idea. There's some things lacking in this kit. You'd think it'd say like quantity, whatever. So you can just make sure it's all there before you start. All right, there we go. So finishing up the comments before I turn this off. Duke is saying, does that make me higher than Waitrose? No, I'm higher than Waitrose. Bob says, do you not have permagrit tools down under? I'm not sure what permagrit is. Making a note. I'll have to Google that. I'm not familiar with the term. Bob says, Duke, on the grounds that Waitrose is nearer than you, pass. Ha 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 ha. Julian says, yeah, I think what I recall, or IIRC, the Victory is the oldest ship in Royal Navy service, now used for training, I think. Yeah. One of the gentlemen that owns, there's a model shop in Australia called Models and Hobbies for You, and they are a sponsor of the 48 and 48 every year. And that gentleman used to be posted to the Victory. So he's a ex Royal Navy and big fan of Models for Heroes and what they do. So I need to sort of get in touch with him and start doing one down under, I think. Julian says, Duke, I think you and Waitrose are level, although the English peerage recognised is the English peerage recognised in Australia? I don't think the honour system is. It used to be. So a number of people here were, CBE, MBE, and all that sort of stuff. So Commander of the British Empire, member of the British Empire. That changed with the Australia Act in 1983, maybe 86. We got rid of those ones, and we started having OAM, Order of Australia Medal, and all those sort of things. So we recognise, obviously, and have our own version of the British Honours and Awards. We don't have peerages here. We don't have sirs. The last one that happened, we had one of our prime ministers he wanted to give a peerage to Angus Houston, who was minister, well, the chief of defence. He was well liked by everyone, military and civilian alike. He's an excellent man. But there was a bit of kickback about that. And he also offered one to Prince Philip just before he died for everything he had done in the Duke of Edinburgh award scheme that had been going on for more than 50 years or whatever. We're giving tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars to people for helping people out. But because he's already got a peerage, there was a massive outcry, and Australia pretty much said, "No, this isn't going to happen again." And it's really awful, I think, because what they want to do is recognise the difference that I think generosity of people people with an ability and the money to help other people, which is what you don't hear about enough these days in certain sort of companies like Amazon, and there's not enough of rich people used to have libraries and all that sort of stuff and award schemes, and now all they do is give me more money. Moving on. Yeah. Bob says horse holes, phenomena. Oh, sorry. More serious stream. Is it? What is serious of which you speak, Bob? I'm not familiar with the concept. Well, Mr. J, I'm not too sure myself. There's a lot of seriously technical talk going on. I understand it all. If I recall, if I recall correctly, IIRC. Thank you. Bob says permagrit is tungsten carbide grit glued to aluminium support shapes. 30 mil bar is over 40 years old and still going strong. I'll look it up. I think Hammer Barn is. I'll go to Hammer Barn tomorrow so we can find out. OBE, MBE, old as the British Empire, doesn't exist and hasn't for decades. That's why the Empire Games changed to the Commonwealth Games. Yeah, but this is, I'm going back to the time when, like, my dad's brother, or half brother, was an MBE. He was a colonel in the British Army. Philanthropists is the word I was searching for. Yes, people that would actually help other people because they, generosity is a thing. But no, it doesn't happen enough these days. There we go. So that's an hour of just really talking about what happens next. So we've got the 3D aspects to do. So I'm not going to do these on screen here. I'll probably finish them off at some point. So port. Yeah, so that is a correct one. So that would be, I'll chamfer these down best I can, then glue them on, and then use them as a template to get the shape of the hull going. But this will also be loud because it's a hollow frame. When I sand this, it's going to make a lot of noise. So it's best to do it off camera, I think, because all you'll hear for weeks is just and everything here, all the models and everything else will be covered in sawdust. So I'll be doing it outside as the weather warms up and everything else. Bob says a zero fell off. Yeah. 300 mil bar, a metric foot. I'll look it up. Permagrit. Don't know of it. And Julian says, my dad always said OBE is other buggers' efforts, and MBE was my bloody efforts. Makes sense. All right, thanks everyone for tuning in and being part of this. But yeah, as I say, this is not a straightforward build. It's going to take a while. But once I'm looking, I think we're all looking forward to the part where I can start planking, because even that will take it'll take months, I think, just to get it all right. And I do have a plan. So the first planking will be continuous as much as I can to get the shape right. Once that's done, you use that as a frame to get the second planking on. And what I want to do with the second planking is something I've never tried before, which is make it scale lengths. That is, the Admiralty had wood that arrived in their orders of a particular length, and I want to get that to the correct scale and use them and do it all properly. So the outside will hopefully look like it's meant to, with the proper sort of cut-offs and everything else. Julian says, Bob, foot isn't metric. Oh, great stream. Thank you very much. I do, and gotta go, Kara here. Thank you, Julian. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. It's just me just talking about what's happening next and the plans thereof. But yeah, it makes sense to me now that I've been able to open the bag up and hold these bits up and see how they fit and where they go. And from the front, as you see, the profile is correct, but from the side, it is not. So lots of sanding to go on there. See you tomorrow, Shipwright Marley. So tomorrow is the SAS Jeep build. Now, Mikey, I took photos of the crawled under the Jeep that we have at the museum. Lots of detailed photos there. I'll put them on to our stream if you like, or I'll put them on Discord, one of the two. But it's under the bonnet, even though ours doesn't have an engine and stuff like that. But yeah, detail of the instrument panel and everything you'd want to see on a Jeep, I think. Bob says we're multi-dimensional in this country. We mix and match measures. And Paul says, ahoy! Huzzah! And all that sort of stuff. But yeah, wood. It's going to... Oh, Mikey's sitting there giggling, I could tell. But no, this place is going to smell differently. I haven't had wood for a while. All right, I'll see you later on. Bye. Oh, where's that stop button? End stream, that one. Hooroo.